Hi, it's Lee here. How are you? I'm so glad you could join me today. I'm going to show you how I made this one for the Makers Creative Collaboration. So it's the colour combo for April. So we're doing the Makers colour combo for April. So the colours are magenta, cream and teal. So I've got to make a teal because I don't have a teal paint. So I'm using a bit of turquoise and adding some blue to it, and then a little dash of black, and I'll see how that works out. So it's a bit light at the moment, so I'll put that dash of black in it and see how that turns out. Hard to tell on that lid that I'm making it up on, but yep. Against a black background it's not so obvious, but against the white you can see it's more of a teal colour now. So first thing I'm going to do is cover the page in gesso. So I'm using my silicone brush to spread that around. Now if you're wondering what that is on the left hand page there, it's a little round jelly plate. I'd left some paints on it and they dried, and I picked up the plate and I bent it and they cracked. Like, I don't know if you can see the cracks in that. So I thought, oh, I like that. I'm going to put some other paint over the top of it. So I put a bit of the turquoise on top of it, and I've just plonked it on that page to see what happens. Rightio. So just mixing a couple of colours, using my gesso as my white. I've got some water-soluble pencils that I might use a bit later on. And what I want to do is cover the page in a mixture of all those colours to get something nice and attractive there. I didn't like that, the way it looked, so I wiped it off with a baby wipe and started again. So I think I must have accidentally put the brush down in the black or something, you know, as we do. So a very big welcome back to all my followers, and a warm welcome to anyone who might be here for the first time. I'm based in Australia, as you probably guessed by my accent, and I just love to make mixed media, junk journals, basically plain with paint, paper and glue. So if that sort of thing appeals to you and you're in for a bit of experimentation with different products and trying different methods and working out problems, which I always seem to run into, then this is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, so just filling in that page, and I will vary the colours here and there. So I found that if you add the magenta to the teal, you get this lovely purple colour. So I put a bit of that in. The cream is a little bit lost on this page, but it's still nice. So I'm going to continue building up the colours and put some mark making in there. Now if you're wanting to join in this challenge, you can do so. The challenge is from the Facebook group Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists. I always got to think about that one. Every time I go to say it, I say it wrong, even though I've been in the group for quite some time. So Mariah and Patricia from PM Artist Studio are the people that run the Facebook group, and every month there's 5 challenges that are open to anyone who's a member of the group to join in with, and this one is the colour combo. So apart from the 3 colours that we are using, which is the teal, the magenta and the cream, we're also allowed to use black and white and 1 metallic paint. So I'm going to put some gold in this a bit later on. So you can see me using my heat gun as I'm doing this. Mainly so, well, I'm actually doing 2 things at once. I'm not actually drying the bits that I'm painting, I'm drying the bits around it. So I don't have to keep turning the camera off to do a dry off. So that was my main reason for that. Once I get that bottom layer dry, I'll get rid of that the dryer and just continue on. So I'm using the magenta just to put some marks around. I like tone on tone, or colour on colour. So when you have magenta and then magenta on top of it, and then maybe some more magenta, but using the whites and the other colours to vary it and make different tones of the same colour. So I'm doing that with that teal down the bottom as well. When the colours were announced, I wasn't that enthusiastic about the choices. I was alright with the teal and the magenta, but the cream sort of threw me off. And the colour that I'm using is actually called light yellow, light yellow lime or something like that, yellow green, something like that. It's not actually a cream, but it was the closest, when I looked at the colour wheel, the closest colour that I had to cream. So to make cream was to take a yellow and add white to it, but it didn't specify which yellow. So I thought I'll just take a colour that I think is close to what I need. When I'm doing these mixed media pieces, I do find myself making the same marks over and over, repeating them in my artworks. So I seem to stick to dashes and these little teardrop shaped marks, and the brush is what makes the marks. So a round brush would make a more round mark like the ones I just did then. And the teardrop ones over the other side, they were done with a filbert brush. And you can, when you're using a brush, you can get different marks out of it too by turning it on its side or using the end of it. So when you are doing this sort of thing, don't worry that you may not have enough brushes, because believe me, you can never have enough brushes. I only need to look in my cupboard and see that there's about 200 brushes in there. And most of them don't get used, so I keep using the same ones over and over. I just had a little bit of a check of that jelly plate, and it hasn't released enough yet to take it off, but the cooking's going well over there. So now I've got my yellow, I beg your pardon, so now I've got my gold paint, and I'm going over the white and just putting some marks in with the gold. I love these colour shapers for spreading. They're great. So see what happens when you spread gold over the top of that magenta. You get an almost orangey glow on the page. And I just love the way this this particular silicone brush applies the paint. So you can get all sorts of different marks with it, and by dragging it or using the end of it like a mark maker. And with that magenta, then you just watch what I do. So I run it over several times, and it intensifies the colour each time. It puts more colour on, so it builds up. And see, I put marks in that little bit down the corner, but then decided I didn't like them that much and smushed them out a bit. And we've got that nice purple area down the front from where I put the magenta over the teal. So I did want to do some stenciling on it, and I had thought that the Semic writing, which is a PM Artist Studio stencil, would be a good one. And but I in fact didn't end up using it. I used this one here. Now what I'm applying the paint with is just a piece of foam packaging. So it was like a tube of foam. And I really like the way it applies the paint. So this is a mix of gold and magenta together. So once that's dried off a bit, I'll add some white over the top of it. I wanted to try and build up layers on the stencil, like over the existing stencil. I did that. I got that result, or I achieved what I wanted up in the top left hand corner, but when I got down a bit further, I didn't really worry so much about the accuracy of where the stencil was placed, so it's not as good as the top left hand corner. So I've got some black that I've just run around the edge, and I'm just going to do a little bit of stenciling with some black. I don't want too much. I don't want it to dominate the page. Just a hint there, here and there. So I'm really happy with the way this is looking at the moment, and I thought I'd use these pencils, but they didn't really stand out enough for me. And they're actually a water-soluble graphite, so they're not a true black, they're more of a dark grey colour. I then got a Sharpie and used that to outline some more bits and pieces on the page, the stenciling. Obviously my paint is still a little bit wet, so my pen's not working really well. So I switched to a different pen, and that still wasn't working, so in the end I just gave up on that idea and drew in a flower, and then gessoed the petals. And I was just going to leave it at the one flower, but I decided to put 3 in there. I needed to gesso the petals to be able to get another colour to go on the page, so if I'd not done the gesso, then the actual petals, when I came to colour them in, that wouldn't show up at all. So yeah, the white gesso had to go down as a foundation for the other colour to go on top of. So this one I thought I'd just freehand it with the brush. Didn't turn out as well as the other one. I do go back in a bit later on and give it a darker outline. And we've got to do things in 3, so I'm drawing another one on here. And when I'm drawing them, I'm holding that pencil right at the end, because I don't want it to be, I want it to look organic. I know I always talk about things looking organic, but you can see what I'm talking about. You just let the pencil do the work. So hold the end of it, or towards the end, and you have less control. You've got to give up your control of the pencil and just free yourself to let your hand sort of just guide the pencil around, but let the pencil do the work. And you get these more natural looking, abstract, semi-abstract sort of shapes and things. So I'm going to make up another batch of the teal, because I've run out of it, and I'm going to make my flowers teal, and I think they're a little bit darker than they were. There's a bit of wet gesso still there, so the paint is mixing with that gesso, and the colour's quite light. So I think I'll go over it a second time, just to darken it up a little bit, and then I'll pop some gold on top of it. I'm loving the way that background is popping through, so you can see the gold and the magenta, the cream in places. So this is similar to a Stabilo pen in the way it looks, pencil I should say, but it is actually a watercolor pencil. So I'm just roughly going around the edge of the flowers, the petals, and this is a water-soluble crayon that I'm using. And I decide that I want them to have a more distinct outline, so I'm popping that around the edges, but as I say, loosely. So I don't want it to be, like colouring in. It's not colouring in to me, it's just applying another colour around the outside. And I don't want it to be perfect. I definitely don't want it to be perfect. So this is my gold paint, so I'm using that to highlight these flowers. Got a white Posca pen, trying to put some dots on this page, and I think this Posca pen might be just about due for replacement, so I can't get a strong white to come out of it. So I ditch that one and get another one that's a bit more stronger in pigment, so the white pigment, and do some more dots. So that's better. These ones are actually visible. A couple of dots here and there around the page. There we go with those marks again. Looks like a chandelier, that thing. And I think I will just outline a couple of those petals, maybe. I'm not sure. I dated it and then I decided to do some more. Checking the little gel plate again, still not ready to come off. I thought I'd finished, and then I decided to put some yellow or the cream in a couple of places. Yes, this, and I've got the pencil again, so it's outlining some of the petals that are in the background there. And that's finished. So I'll show you what the little gel plate made in a moment. So this is where I pulled that little gel plate off. It tore a little bit there, but how gorgeous does that look? You can see the history of all the colours that were on the thing and on the plate, and that's the colour that I put over the top, which is a bit of that teal. So it looks like a planet or something, doesn't it? Gorgeous. I'm going to give that a try properly. You know, I was just trying to get rid of what was on the plate. So really happy with that. Yeah, if you want to check out what everybody else is doing on the Makers group, the hashtags are in my video description box. Okie dokie, so that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope you give this one a try. Let me know in the comments if you do try it, or tag me if you put it on social media. Hope you found some inspiration here. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. All those wonderful things that I really appreciate you doing. And until then, till next time I should say, happy crafting. Hugs and cheers from Australia. Hooroo!